Hi, I'm Maria Thea Harris of Fellow Sews on social media. Welcome back to Sew Over 50 podcast on Sew Organised Style. Grab a cuppa and relax with us. On Sew Organised Style podcast, I begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we record this podcast and pay respects to the elders past and present. Before we get started today, I want to send my thanks to two new podcast patron supporters, Monica and James. Patron supporters help fund the technology that brings you Sew Organised Style podcast every month. Thank you. Thanks for joining us on Sew Over 50 podcast on Sew Organised Style. Sew Over 50 intersects with all communities. We're a community that is so over ageism. On the Sew Over 50 account, there is a challenge, a July challenge, and the person that's here to talk to us today is Judy of Judy Willamette Ross. She's the epic dress and Hexicoat creator. Judy, thank you so much for coming on the podcast because this is going to be such an exciting challenge for everyone.
Thanks for having me, Maria. I think this is going to be a really fun challenge, so I'm really excited about getting my teeth stuck into it this month.
The July challenge from Sew Over 50. What is the hashtag?
There are two because the word of the day is colour, and as we all know, there are two different ways of spelling that. So it's either sewcolourblocking with a U or without a U, depending on your preference. And it's open to everybody, so there's not an SO50 in front of it. It's just sewcolourblocking, however you choose to spell colour.
Okay, so listeners, sewcolourblocking is what we're going to be talking about, and it's the July challenge from Sew Over 50. What's your take on this challenge based on what you do? Tell us about it.
Well, I really felt like this is so up my alley because colour blocking is an absolutely fantastic way of using otherwise awkward bits of fabric. Really good way of being creative and really forcing you to work within constraints. If you've got a limited amount of fabric or you've got something that's precious and you want to use it. So colour blocking really ties in with the way I like to do things. But it doesn't have to be little bits of fabric that you're upcycling. This is something you can start from scratch with brand new fabric and plow into it with a really definite plan and go and buy fabric for what you want to do. It's just so open-ended. With colour blocking, you can do anything.
In the Sewing Colour Block Challenge teaser post, there were a few different ways that you could colour block. So one of them was to be vibrant, monochromatic, tonal, or subtle. What's your preference, Judy?
All of them. I love the monochromatic where all of the colour blocking is textural rather than coloured. And I've seen some beautiful things done where people have just used black and there are the different tones in whether the fabric is a bit shiny or totally matte, a bit of lace. So everything is black and the blocking is textural and the subtle effect is really beautiful, and then you get the absolutely wild, vibrant rainbow of colours and it looks amazing. And it's all about how you put them together, and so all of it is inspiring and interesting.
And in that post for Sew Over 50 there were quite a few examples that people can go back to and have a look at.
The launch post for this challenge had some fantastic examples that people have already made. And they ranged from a rainbow skirt that had 5 different colours in it to a coat that only had 2, where the top was one colour and the bottom was another colour. Another one, different bits of the coat were different colours. You can be quite subtle with it and only have a slight variation in colour, or you can just be wild.
Absolutely. I think you've also touched on a really important point there. You can actually enter garments that you've already made as part of the post for Sew Colour Blocking.
Absolutely. This challenge is for previous makes as well as new makes. So if anybody's got anything out there that would really fit the bill, by all means, chuck it in there with the hashtag. We'd love to see it.
Judy, what are the guidelines for hashtag Sew Colour Blocking?
So this one is open to everyone. You don't need to be over 50. You don't need to be following Sew Over 50, but obviously we're hosting the challenge. So everybody can take part. Now we are asking for plain colours only, no patterned prints, just so that we do have a little bit of a limit and a guideline on that one.
Yep.
When I say plain colours, if it is a tone on tone, if something like a jacquard or a brocade that is only one colour, then you can kind of sneak that in there. That still counts as one colour. And the challenge runs from the 1st to the 31st of July, and we'll do a roundup each week of what's caught our eye. And then at the end of the month, there's going to be a top 10. And my fabulous panellists and I will confer on who the top 10 are going to be. And then we'll announce those probably just at the very beginning of August. And you sort of get to sort of have the glory of being in the top 10. So there are no prizes on this one, which I think makes it less intimidating to enter. If it's just for fun, everybody's a bit more willing to have a go, which is the aim of it, to just have some fun, stretch your creative muscles. And we're also asking garments only, again, just to limit it a bit. And it can be, as you've already said, a new make for this month, something you're doing this month, or something that you've already made. And the hashtags are sewcolourblocking, either with a U in colour or without.
Okay.
Those are the rules.
It has to be a garment, but it could be a garment that you've made, but you're going to put up a new post about it. So that's good if people are short of time.
A new post would be quite good. And if you put up an old make with a new post, and then you can use the SO50 reworn hashtag, which is always a good one as well.
That's a good idea. Now, you've mentioned a panellist. Who is going to be on your panel, Judy?
I have got two panellists, Sue, who goes by Modelled by Madge on Instagram, and Sheila, who is Sheila Sews Her Clothes, are going to be joining me on this one.
And if the listeners don't know who Sheila and Sue are, they need to have a listen to their Sewing Friends podcast that we did last year and have a look at Sue and Sheila's Instagram accounts.
Yeah, you've interviewed so many cool people on this podcast. It's always good to be able to put a voice to the pictures, I think.
I'm always happy to interview the wide variety of people on the podcast from the Sew Over 50 community. We're getting carried away here because, there are a lot of us in the Sew Over 50 community. There's over 41,000 at the moment and growing. And it's really great that at times when people feel that they have something to say, that they can come on the podcast, or if they want to share something in the sewing realm, they can contact the Sew Over 50 account and let Judith and Sandy know that they want to do a guest post.
And I'll just put in a little plug for that as well. Sandy actually asked me if I would like to manage this challenge for them because I have a bit of time on my hands at the moment.
Yep.
And there is so much work that goes into Sew Over 50 that anybody who can help out is very welcome and much appreciated. So if anybody's got ideas for guest posts, or if anybody would like to host challenges or anything, it's fantastic to have more voices as well as just easing the workload.
And for the Northern Hemisphere summer, we've got Bird and Molly who are running the Sew 50 Live discussions on Instagram for Sew Over 50, which is wonderful.
Oh, it's fantastic. So there are more and more voices, and it's always great because you get a different perspective from everybody. And if Judith and Sandy had to do everything, then all of these extra things just wouldn't be available. So it's really great to get involved.
And in case listeners don't know, everyone who is doing this are volunteers.
Nobody's getting paid for this. We're all doing everything because we love it. And Judith and Sandy running their Instagram account, I don't know how either of them have any free time, quite frankly.
And for new listeners, Judith and Sandy have been running the Sew Over 50 account since August 2018.
Yes.
Yeah.
They take, week in, week about, but it is a lot of work for the week that they are on duty.
Yep.
As I am about to find out, I believe.
Yes, it's great that you've got a panel to help you. So
yes.
Again, the July challenge, what is it called?
It's called sewcolourblocking.
And it's open to all sewers, and it's running from the 1st to the 31st of July.
That pretty much sums up what the challenge is, but I'd really like to encourage anybody who's ever thought about having a go at this to check out the launch post for a bit of inspiration. Just go and take a look at what you've got lying around and see if that sparks a bit of creativity. It's a great opportunity to use up those precious fabrics that you've only got a little bit of even if that means you have to go out and get something else to go with it, using these things that you've had sitting around because they're too good to throw out, it just gets you thinking in different ways. You can cut up your patterns and put seams in different places, and you can use good bits of old worn out garments, and you can use new fabrics. It's just so open to whatever suits your style of making. So we'd love to see as many people as possible have a go.
And having a go can also mean if you're new to colour blocking, start following the hashtag sewcolourblocking to get inspired.
And if you see somebody who's posted something that looks amazing, sometimes just going back and having a wee scroll through their feed will show all kinds of other things, because if somebody's done something amazing, quite often they've all done something else amazing earlier. Have a look. So that's a great way to find inspiration and find people to follow who do things that you like to look at.
As Sew 50 followers know, they're not alone when it comes to sewing. They're amongst friends.
Oh, absolutely. 41,000 of us and counting, as you said.
Exactly.
Oh, no, there was only one other thing I wanted to mention. And along with using the SO50 reworn hashtag, I'd also really like to encourage people to use the waiwot, WAIWOT hashtag.
Yeah.
That's by Judy, Consistently Different Designs. And it's all about sharing your process. That stands for what am I working on today? And with colour blocking, it often is a process where you go through a bit of experimenting and testing and trying things. So that's a really good one to follow as well. And I'd really encourage people to share their process as well as their finished results if they are doing a new make for this month.
This particular challenge is running for a month, but there's no reason why you can't continue to use.
Yeah, as you say, the challenge is running for a month, but quite a few of these, there's been a challenge that's run for a specified length of time, but then the hashtag keeps going and you keep sort of following the hashtag and new cool stuff pops up. So it's always good to keep using those hashtags.
Sew 50 Reworn is used quite often, and it's really great to see.
Well, we should be normalising re-wearing things. People tend to post just the new things that they've made, and they wear the old things. Well, not old, but all the previous makes. But we don't share those things, and so you get the idea that it's all new all the time, which is not how life works. Apart from special occasions, you don't make something to only wear once to have a nice photo for Instagram. You make it to wear, and it's great to see how things fit in with old makes in your wardrobe and new makes.
Exactly. If people want to hear more about what waiwot is, Julie of Consistently Different Designs has been on the podcast as well, both on her own and with her sewing friend Gabrielle Kissentus.
Yes. Oh, you have all the cool people on this podcast, Maria.
And the door is always open to sewers to come onto the podcast. The fact that you sew, you're a cool person.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the only criteria.
Exactly. No, that's really great. Thank you so much, Judy, for managing hashtag Sew Colour Blocking for the month of July for Sew 50. I know that with Sheila and Sue's help, it's going to be a fun one.
Oh, I think this is going to be a fun one. I think everybody should have a go. Everybody who's ever thought about trying colour blocking, now's your chance.
Great. Thanks again, Judy.
Okay, thanks, Maria.
This episode for Sew Over 50 podcast on Sew Organised Style was produced by me, Maria Theoharis, with permission of Judy. Sound by bensound.com. Listeners, if you want to provide a guest post for Sew Over 50, make sure you direct message Judith and Sandy at the Sew Over 50 account on Instagram. Also, keep an eye out for the next Sew 50 Live event that Bird and Molly are hosting. Remember, these Sew Over 50 Live events will always be available on the Sew Over 50 account. You can subscribe to Sew Organised Style podcast, but with an S, not a Z, on all good podcast apps. Make sure you go back and listen to our free Sew Over 50 podcast archive. And if you can, consider supporting the production of this podcast on Patreon so I can keep producing it for you. We look forward to joining you in your sewing room next time. Stay safe, everyone.